Well, as they say, war never changes. There was a malfunction in the world's nuclear launch sequences, and then kaboom! Everything went off at once. Looks like you and I are the only ones left. You know what that means. We have all the time in the world to take a look at this week's Friday show. So gather around the TV and we'll take a look. Let's start on a more musical note with Jack's review of Abbey Road.
There is no band that is praised more than the Beatles. Although they were only together for 7 years, their influence and prominence is unmatched. All four of the members, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, are members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. If I were to talk about their impact for music, I would be here for hours. So today, I will be only talking about their 11th studio album, released in 1969, Abbey Road. If you were to ask a group of people, odds are they would have heard of this album. Ranked 14 on Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 albums of all time, this is easily the band's most praised album. With hits such as Come Together and Here Comes the Sun, and deep cuts like You Never Give Me Your Money and Carry That Weight, the track list is so diverse, making it far from an ordinary listen. Everyone has their own unique track ranking for this album, making it such a great topic for discussion. So, here is mine. What's up, guys? I am the man's voice you heard. I'm here to rank the 18 songs on Abbey Road, and let me just get started by saying that none of these songs are bad by any means. I have to rank them. I have to put them in a ranking. That's how my brain kind of works. So without further ado, let's get this started. At number 17, I have Her Majesty. Really just a short song with not much substance to it, but it's a good calming track to end it off. 16, I have She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. It's a little bit too long for its own good, but still a really enjoyable little song. 15, I have Polythene Pam. I think it's really interesting how the last three songs on these albums have like stories about a certain person or character they have. I think that's really cool. 14, I have Carry That Weight. I think it's just a really well-written song, and Ringo really shines on the drums for this one. 13, I have Golden Slumbers. I mean, this one, just amazing guitar work, amazing lyrics, quintessential Beatles right there. 12, I have Mean Mr. Mustard. Just love the instrumental in this song. The only thing is the lyrics and the vocal performance can get kind of silly sometimes, but that's it. At 11, I have Sun King, just a really calming and mellow song. 10, I have You Never Give Me Your Money. I love the vocal performance from John on this. I mean, he really sings his heart out, and I love it when he does that type of songs. At 9, I have The End, which I just think should have ended the album. There's nothing wrong with Her Majesty, but this is like the perfect way to end the album off, in my opinion. At 8, I have Because. I mean, just great guitar work, great psychedelic guitar work on this album, and it's really interesting and makes for a really cool listen. At 7, I have Octopus's Garden. I mean, Ringo songs usually get a bad rap for being kind of silly and more of a kid's song, but this is no exception, but it's just really well written, and the instrumentation on it is great. And at 6, I have Come Together, the second most popular song on this album, and I just think it's amazing. It's a great start and a great preview for what's to come. And at 5, I have I Want You, She's So Heavy. Some people may say this was the introduction to metal. I mean, the instrumentation is heavy. It goes on for nearly 8 minutes, which is much longer than all the other songs on this album, and I just think it's really, really cool. 4 is Maxwell's Silver Hammer. It's kind of a silly song, but I just love the story on it, and I love the hammer sounds that come in. I think that's a really good touch. At 3, it's Oh Darling, the best ballad on this album, and one of my favorite Beatles songs ever. The vocals on this are amazing. 2, Here Comes the Sun, the most popular song on this album. Just a beautiful song, and I never get tired of listening to it. And for my number 1, I would say Something, George's song, just one of the greatest love songs ever made, maybe my top 3, and it's just amazing. The guitar work is great, the drumming is great, and it's just a beautiful song overall. So those are my opinions. Would like to know yours, and I'll see you guys later. Unfortunately, this was the very last album that the Beatles recorded together before they broke up. However, next year in 1970, the album filled with B-sides and other studio creations known as Let It Be was released. That would be the last record ever put out by the Beatles, sadly. However, that is a topic for another day. Overall, I think that this album has no misses and is an absolute masterpiece. I give it a perfect 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day.
Yeah, that sure was a pretty good review, huh? Speaking of reviews, we have the Killing Room Floor from yours truly.
Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
Welcome to the Killing Room Floor, the show where we take a deep dive into the landmarks of the horror genre. I am your host, Nick Graves, and on this week's episode, we'll be taking a look at The Blair Witch Project, released in 1999 and directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. Now, before we begin, I will explain how this show is going to work for the categories of acting, cinematography, practical effects, and the impact the film had left behind. I'm going to give a score between 1 and 10 based on their execution in the movie. Now that you have some context behind the show, I think it's time we gather up our camcorders and face the wall right into this. Blair Witch Project is a found footage film about student filmmakers Heather, Mike, and Josh looking to make a documentary on the Blair Witch, which for the most of the runtime is composed of their footage discovered a year later. The movie was the catalyst for found footage as a genre of horror, bringing a more realistic view to light over many slashers that the average viewer had gotten used to. The movie overall feels incredibly believable throughout, that being in part to the use of camcorders, giving a home-produced kind of feel. However, the camcorders weren't the only thing leading an air of credibility to the film.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
The acting in this movie is arguably the most important and impressive aspect of the movie. Most of the time, interviews and interrogations in movies feel artificial, and you can tell that the acting is not the real deal. But Blair Witch, the interviews feel incredibly realistic. Each interviewee really feels like they're explaining their actual point of view on the Blair Witch legend, and it's refreshing to see.
Right. Wool shawl over her.
And she scared you? She threatened you?
She didn't say anything.
This is all before I get to our main cast. I think throughout the film, the main cast actually feel like people rather than characters. To give an example, you can really feel the tension, anger, and confusion between Josh and Heather when they're arguing over who lost the map.
Go!
Get this, you want to get that? Which way are we walking?
This isn't even to mention the scene with Heather that has been parodied to hell and back. All of the acting in this movie is very strong, and I think Heather's actress Heather Donahue was a standout, and it was incredibly cruel and unfair that she was given a Razzie for her role in this movie. In fact, due to a large amount of negative backlash, she left the acting industry and became a writer. Honestly, I don't think she deserved all the hate, and her reactions to things in the woods feel chillingly realistic. Overall, I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 Tommy Wiseaus. Now, while the acting may have been great and made everything believable, I think the cinematography is what hammers the movie home for me. Get the camera! Due to the fact that the main cast are student filmmakers, it wouldn't make sense for all of their shots to be perfect like a normal horror movie. So shaky cam is abound here. Although this is only when they aren't recording interviews and such, as these are filmed with much more care to imitate professional style. It's just the right amount to feel panicked rather than headache-inducing, and I think that really gets you immersed in the experience. Not to mention that the amount of shaky cam is adjusted depending on who's holding the camera. Although I think the movie has easily earned a 7 out of 10 shaky cams here. Now, let's move from the filmable to the practical.
Fatality.
Practical effects are where I begin to have less praise for the film, as there aren't really many instances of practical effects being used. The one main time they are used, however, I thought was really creative. During the night that Josh disappears, Heather and Mike hear Josh's screaming and gagging noises in the distance. And in the morning, a bundle of sticks is found outside the tent, containing some of Josh's blood, hair, and teeth, a piece of his flannel. I think this is a great way to show an off-screen death, as it leaves the viewers wondering what could have possibly been done to Josh. After this, though, there aren't really many more instances of special effects, so I'm gonna have to give the practical effects a 4 out of 10 ketchup packets as a result. The bundle scene was rather impactful, but so was the movie as a whole. Let's take a look at that.
Oh my God!
The Blair Witch Project fundamentally changed horror, kickstarting the found footage movies as a subgenre of horror. At the time, this was a breath of fresh air, as most horror movies released around that time were just your average slasher tropey schlock. The Blair Witch Project paved the way for movies to look and feel more real. If we had never got the Blair Witch Project, we would have never got movies like Wreck, As Above, So Below, and my personal favorite, Cloverfield. Sure, Cannibal Holocaust may have started the found footage genre, but Blair Witch Project is the found footage film. At the time of the movie's release, there was quite a hysterical stir, as there were thousands of people who thought the actors in the movie actually died until they were forced to come out publicly and state otherwise. Goes to show how much convincing acting and a little shaky cam can do for a movie. Overall, I'm gonna have to give this a 10 out of 10 Tunguskas. Now that you heard my perspective, let's take a look at the perspective of some others.
So when I watched the Blair Witch Project, I thought that overall the whole kind of story of it was pretty cool. They were just a group of film students who, went out in the woods to film this story. And, it's a it's a pretty realistic story, and it's not necessarily just your average, slasher film where they go out and, there's 20 deaths in the movie, and, it's really just a massacre, I guess. What was cool about it was that it was, well thought out, and, people, like, there were only, I think, there was only a few people that died in it, so it was, really more about the story and, that built-up horror rather than the quick and kind of just not well thought-out deaths.
I like that it felt real. It felt like you were watching a documentary, not like a movie, which a lot of people thought it was real when it first came out, so.
Thought it was very good. I mean, the acting seemed real, and I like how they actually go in the woods, and there's not much to it. It's just people with a camera trying to find this witch that's a big legend throughout the city, and I think it was just a very good watch, and it was pretty scary.
Really, I didn't dislike much about the movie. I think it was, like I said, everything was built up really well, paced really well. Yeah, I wouldn't have really any dislikes. Maybe, I guess, just kind of an abrupt ending, but I still think that even could be considered good.
I can't watch shaky camera shots for that long, when the camera would suddenly, flash down, it gets annoying to me.
The shaky camera, a lot, that kind of can be a downside, sometimes it's very dark and the lighting can struggle, but when you're in the woods, that's something that can happen, but not much, really.
I think it's had a pretty significant impact. It definitely, I think, paved the way for more of that, it was made in a time, I think, when there were a lot more slashers, and it kind of helped pave the way to moving more to, kind of that horror where it's built up over time and you don't always see what the, monster is. It's more kind of left to you to interpret it how you will. And obviously it's had a sequel come out in 2016, I believe. Still, the first one had a very, I think, significant impact on the horror genre as a whole.
I watched with my dad, and he was telling me all about how, everyone thought it was real, nobody knew who the actors were, so, it was, a big deal in, the horror media community, and, how they did it super cheaply, too, so that was a big impact.
Yeah, I think people thought it was legitimately real at first. They made it seem like it was based on a true story and made it seem like these people were actually missing. So it also made found footage a really popular genre of film, and made Paranormal Activity, movies like that, get super popular.
Now you've had some second opinions. Let's get to the tally. The Blair Witch Project has earned 30 out of 40 points overall. Its highest point category being impact with 10 out of 10, and its lowest point category being 4 out of 10 in practical effects. Due to this being episode 1, this puts Blair Witch Project at the top spot of the leaderboard, and will hold that spot until another movie somehow surpasses its total. At any rate, I'm Nick Graves. This has been The Killing Floor. Till we meet again. Yeah, that was a trip, wasn't it? Now that we've dipped our toes into the realms of music and movies, I think it's time for a little game review. Here's Avon and Liam with their review of Elder Scrolls Online.
Hello everyone, my name is David Oliver, and I'm back talking games once again. The game I'll be talking about today is a game that's based in medieval times, Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online is a game where you can choose between 6 different classes to start your journey. The 6 classes are Dragon Knight, Sorcerer, Templar, Nightblade, Warden, or Arcanist. I chose the best class in my opinion, Sorcerer, of course. Anyway, the story of the game is that you're trying to save everyone from an evil darkness that runs throughout the world. And the fun part is, after you get done in an area, you can always go back to it as well to beat any side quests you didn't do before. Well, anyway, what I'm fighting here is a giant bear, and basically all you really need to do is dodge attacks and then use your spells. Anyway, it's time to change my inventory. Time to go in my inventory and change some of my armor. Change some of my weapons. And then change some of my skills. Well, anyway, I think that's it. That should be it for me. Have a great day, everyone.
That That was very good, though I think that's enough reviews for now. I think it's about time we move on from reviews towards sports, and we can't start on a better note. Here's Caden with a look at making it to the playoffs.
What's good, y'all? It's Wavy Caden here, and today I'm doing making it to the playoffs. And so this is where I pick a team that's either the 9th, 10th, or 11th seed and explain how they can make it to the playoffs, like what's going wrong, and if they should even focus on making it to the playoffs this season. The team I have today is the Atlanta Hawks, who have Trae Young, Clint Capella, DeJounte Murray, Vit, and Bogdanovich as their starters. And toward the end of February, Trae Young got injured. So it's a finger injury, and he has to get surgery soon. So that probably is not really a really welcoming thing, for the Atlanta Hawks. But DeJounte Murray has really been doing his thing. He gets at least 20 points per game. On good days, dropping 30, 40 points. Just doing the whole thing, carrying. But Clint Capella definitely does his job. He gets at least 10 boards every game, and scoring 10 plus points. So he's getting double just about every game. They have Vit, who's a guard, 6'8" guard who doesn't really do anything, and there's a player on the bench who actually outscores him just about every game that they play. So I think that's something that they should fix. Like, instead of having Vit play, just have Vit be 6 men. They've lost 6 out of their last 10 games. And some games are close, some games are just like blown out. So they played Brooklyn back to back and they lost both. And Bogdanovich, he mostly scores. He puts up a good amount of points too. But I would say for the most part, Murray does his thing, and I say second in scoring would be Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson has actually been doing very good this season, and really helping Murray to score in those times where he can't do everything. Vit and DeAndre Hunter, who is the 6th man, are pretty much around the same height, same weight, but Vit plays the guard position. But I think DeAndre Hunter could definitely go into that starting lineup, into a starting lineup position, and just put Murray as point guard. Because I feel like the points that he scores and stuff, I think he could definitely just step up to a more leading position. Make sure y'all tap in, and hope y'all enjoyed how you can make it to the playoffs. And I think that they could definitely try and make it to the playoffs. But DeJounte Murray and Bogdanovich and Jalen Johnson are gonna have to do a lot of work. So yeah.
I love sports ball. Let's continue that note and dive into the NFL free agency with the famous Mark Kalmbacher.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Kalmbacher, and today we're going to be talking about NFL free agency. These past couple days have been crazy, being that so many teams have made so many moves. We have a bunch of running backs mixed up. So today I'm going to be getting into the big signings. So I'm going to start off with Kirk Cousins being in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins has played most of his career in Minnesota and only has 1 playoff win. So being that Atlanta's going to pay him that much money for a couple years, it's kind of crazy to me. And the next guy we're going to talk about is Saquon in Philly. Saquon Barkley is a dominant force in the backfield. He was a dominant force for the Giants, but unfortunately they couldn't get him to the playoffs. So hopefully in Philly they could get him somewhere. Now we're going to go to Swift to the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears, I mean, they haven't had a bad back, but losing David Montgomery last year, relying on Khalil Herbert, it was kind of iffy for the Bears. So DeAndre Swift to the Bears should be a good fit. And then we got Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson has fell off ever since he got traded from Seattle. He didn't have the best season in Denver, but let's hope for Steelers fans that he could do something for you guys. And that's really it for the big signings. There's still a lot of sort of big signings, so we're gonna get into those. So we're gonna go with the Colts. This is not exciting. This is an extension. The Colts extended Michael Pittman. This is helpful for them in many reasons because, first of all, they don't have wide receiver depth. So Pittman needs to stay in Indianapolis, and I think they realize that, and that's why he got that extension. The next small signing, we got Tony Pollard to the Titans. Tony Pollard didn't have a really good season in Dallas. I think he needed Zeke, but him being a running back one there kind of, threw him off. The Titans just lost Derrick Henry, so hopefully Tony Pollard has a bounce back year. Now we got Minshew in Las Vegas. Minshew had a really good season, I would say, for backing up Anthony Richardson in the Colts last year. I think Minshew is going to thrive in Las Vegas after Las Vegas just got rid of their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now we're going to move on to the Jets, signing Tyrod Taylor. The one big thing here is the Jets never really had a solid quarterback right now. And they've been struggling with QBs. They do have Aaron Rodgers, so hopefully Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy this year. But without Aaron Rodgers, they don't really have much QB depth, so Tyrod Taylor should be a good backup for Aaron Rodgers. And that's going to wrap up our signings. So I'm going to go to the team needs. I'm going to talk about 5 teams and what they need. So first off, I'm going to start talking about my team, the New England Patriots. So far, we need one more wide receiver to fill out our wide receiver 2. We need a QB. We're probably going to get that in the draft, and an offensive tackle. And then the Bears need some defense. Especially on the D-line, which they kind of lack. After signing Montez Sweat, he was a decent help, but I think they need a little bit more. So they need that D tackle. They need probably another center and a DN. So I'm going to move on to the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions, the 2-time Super Bowl champions. They're going to look for a wide receiver. They're going to look for a left tackle, and they're going to look for another running back to kind of split with Isaiah Pacheco. And the last team we're going to talk about today is the Eagles. The Eagles need a linebacker, safety, and a quarterback. I know they have Jalen Hurts, so people are like, why do they need a quarterback? Well, they just got rid of Marcus Mariota, and they need a backup to fill. And that's going to be all for the team needs. That's going to be all from free agency. It's going to be all from me. I'm Mark, signing out.
Thank you, Mark. Though I think it's time for a more fist-to-face kind of sport after all that ball. Here's Andreas Guzman with the UFC Breakdown.
What's up, PC3? I'm Andreas Guzman, and with UFC 299 now in the history books, we are breaking down the card and talking about a couple of the big fights, such as Michael Venom Page versus Kevin Holland, Dustin Poirier versus St. Denis, and last but not least, the main event of Sean O'Malley's title defense against Marlon Cheeto Vera. So let's go to the fights. Let's dive into MVP versus Kevin Holland. In my opinion, the fight was nothing too exciting, but it was notable for MVP's debut. I expected a lot more from Kevin Holland. He didn't really show much in this fight except a few flurries in the second round. To me, MVP seemed really comfortable in the octagon. He was moving around smooth and just controlling the entire fight. My personal favorite moment from that fight was the spinning elbow. MVP is now 1-0 in the UFC, so it'll be interesting to see who they put him against next. Now let's move on to the co-main event between Dustin Poirier and Benoit St. Denis. You have to give Dustin credit for taking this fight late in his training camp, and this turned out to be a pretty solid fight. Both men looked comfortable throughout, and nothing seemed off about either of them. Poirier ended up getting the better of St. Denis with that big right hand to end the fight in the second round and give Dustin another big win. Last but not least, let's talk about the main event. Sean O'Malley vs. Marlon Vera was a huge fight and very hyped up. It was O'Malley's first defense of his bantamweight title, and he was looking to avenge his loss to Cheeto in 2020. Both men looked dialed in from the start, but this fight was not what I expected at all. I definitely had O'Malley winning, but I just didn't expect him to dominate the way he did. I thought it was going to be a pretty good fight, but it ended up the exact opposite. O'Malley clearly won every single round, and Cheeto did not threaten the entire fight. O'Malley kept making him fall for the feints and used his reach to throw some jab cross in there with ease. My personal favorite part of this fight was the knee O'Malley hit Cheeto with in the third round. O'Malley ended up cruising to the decision win. You have to give Cheeto credit for hanging in the tough, but the Sugar Show was truly in full force. Now for some exciting news. With UFC 299 now in the rearview mirror, we turn our attention to UFC 300, one of the most stacked cards of all time, with so many big names scheduled to battle, including Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, and Bo Nickel. This looks to be one of the most historic nights in mixed martial arts history. One fight I'm looking forward to is Pereira and Hill, which is a certified main event everywhere. Also, former Olympian Kayla Harrison will be making her long-awaited UFC debut against former champion Holly Holm. So many great fights, this is one card you cannot miss. Be sure to tune in to UFC 300 on April 13th. That's it for me. Signing off from PC3, I'm Andres Guzman. We'll see you at the fights.
Now that we're back from grown men knocking each other out, let's move on to a more civilized art form. Here's Jaden Woods with his poem, The Grove Distilled.
Thickened algae-filled water floats, stagnant in the creek. Herein it leads to our dreams. Evanescent swans flew with ducks, and geese squawked and whined. Red mud-stained boots clicked their way over the docks, vainglorious and ever-powerful. Eugenic in its following came the flowers. Diagonal rows of callow florets arose. In this river's shore sat a well-aged man, still though he held on to his youth through his sons, holding onto his hands. Illuminated within the darkness was a home, laudable and light blue it sat, although lachrymose were the turkeys, gobbling around. Even though they knew the end was near, ducks flew above, waving down, far above the algae that floated before he.
Now, I think it's time we revive an old classic with Harley Beeshier's take on This or That.
Welcome to This or That today, and today we will be talking about questions which you guys can see right here on the screen right now, and I will be telling you guys which one got picked the most and which one got picked the least in each of these categories at the end of the video, so please stay tuned to see the end results, and hope you guys enjoy. Would you rather go on vacation or stay home?
Vacation, for sure.
Where would you go on vacation?
I haven't really been out of the United States, so maybe somewhere like in Europe or somewhere tropical.
Yeah, home.
100% go on a vacation.
Where would you go?
Either Japan or Texas, because I know people in Texas and I want to go see them, and Japan because I always wanted to go there.
I'd rather stay at home because I have so much to do. If I didn't have all of that, probably vacation. But for right now, stay at home.
Stay at home most times, but I do love a good vacation.
That's a tough question. I personally would usually stay home unless it was to Greece. I would go to Greece for sure.
And then, would you rather go to a party or stay at home and watch TikTok?
It depends on the party, but most likely the party.
I would rather stay at home and watch TikTok than go to a party. I just like being around my family and keeping it simple.
Bro, I couldn't deal with those obnoxious people, bro. They be obnoxious. I'm staying home. I'm chilling. Play some Fortnite, you know what I'm saying? Gotta get my victory crown. I'm chilling.
And then would you go mini golfing or go fishing with your friends?
Oh, let me get the fish, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You gotta get that fishing. Catch a goldfish.
Friends.
100% fishing.
Can you tell us why you would go fishing?
The boys. Going fishing with the boys? What's wrong with that? That's what I'm saying.
All right, well, thank you. Friends.
Ooh, probably mini golf, but they're both good options.
Miniature golfing, Hundo P, all the time, baby.
And that was it, guys. Well, if you guys want any questions to be asked in the next one, please leave it down in the comments, and I hope you guys enjoy. And here are what was picked the most and what was picked the least. So hope you guys enjoy and have a good day.
Nice job, Harley. Speaking of This or That, its creator Lana Cantu and her friend Stella Grachowski have a special little presentation for us. Bravo! I'm excited for the next episode. Oh, Apocalypse. Right. Well, thank you for watching The Friday Show. We'll be back after spring break when I manage to find another one. See y'all then. Signing off from PC3 Media, I'm Connor Bray.